Welcome to today's webinar on eliminating the financial impact of bad batteries, brought to you by RGIS and Global Technology Systems, or GTS. My name is John Fitzgerald, Vice President of Marketing for RGIS, and I will be the moderator for today's live event. Our first speaker is John Conti, Chief Marketing Officer for GTS. Global Technology Systems, or GTS for short, is the trusted mobile power expert. GTS designs and manufactures high-performance batteries, chargers, and power management technologies for the world's leading mobile devices, including barcode scanners, PDAs, portable printers, and two-way radios. Millions of mobile workers rely on GTS to power their mission-critical communications and mobile computing applications. GTS products and services are designed to maximize the performance of your mobile devices, leading to increased productivity and reduced costs. Take it away, John.
Thanks, John, and hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'd like to start off by first explaining why batteries are important and why battery management is necessary within today's large enterprises. So as you look at this first slide, kind of imagine what would our life be like without rechargeable batteries. Batteries give us the ability to store energy, take it with us wherever we go, allows us to power essential mobile devices, and these devices are vital to the success of any enterprise. But these devices are only as good as the battery that powers them. Well, I'm trying my best, but who am I kidding? We all know batteries aren't sexy, and like this cartoon illustrates, most enterprises pay little attention to the battery until they experience a rash of failures. Only when it becomes an emergency do most enterprises sit up and take notice, but by then the damage may have been done. As we all know, batteries do not last forever. They slowly degrade over time and eventually become unable to hold a full charge. When we talk about an unhealthy or bad battery, what we mean are those that can no longer hold a full charge. Think about your cell phone. When you first purchase it, you may charge it once every 2 days or 3 days, and as time goes by, you need to charge it more and more frequently until you can hardly go an hour without having to plug the phone in. This is due to natural decomposition of the battery. We won't bore you with the details of how or why this occurs, but we can all agree it's a real hassle to rely on a battery to power a device when it can no longer hold a charge. If we all agree that batteries are important and they don't last forever, what happens as batteries age? Unhealthy batteries are impacting your mobile operations every day, whether you realize it or not. Unhealthy batteries are a leading cause of decreased productivity and rising service costs. As you can see from this chart, as a battery ages, the service costs increase and productivity will decrease. Well, what are these impacts? Bad batteries are impacting profitability. Each time a battery dies mid-shift, it can cost your employee up to 30 minutes in time to go swap the battery. He'll have to walk all the way back to the battery charger to grab a new one, and even then there's no guarantee that the new battery will be any better than the one he was currently using. If he's using a device and the device fails, his first reaction might be to call a service center to test the battery or figure out what's wrong with the device. Some of these service calls can take as long as 25 minutes and even cost your company $40 or more per call. If that doesn't solve the problem, the user is likely to send the device in for repair. This requires time and money and will remove the device from service for several days. In our experience, we have found that 30% of service requests are returned as no trouble found, or NTF, and 70% of these NTFs are due to an unhealthy battery. Device service contracts are not designed to manage batteries. Think about it. You wait for a problem to occur with a device, maybe even multiple times, then one of your employees has to recognize the problem, package the device, ship it to an off-site repair depot, and the service provider might take several days to analyze the device, only to find that the battery was the problem. This can all be avoided by using healthy batteries. Think of the time and expense that can be saved by eliminating unhealthy batteries before they cause a mid-shift failure. I'd like to now ask the team a question here as you're listening. I'd like for everyone listening to estimate how many portable handheld devices your organization currently uses. For example, rugged barcode scanners, PDAs, two-way radios, mobile computers, portable printers, If you were to estimate how many were in your organization today, please provide us an answer. Let's take a look. So as you can see, a lot of us have many mobile devices across the enterprise, some as many as 25,000 devices or more. That's a lot of mobile devices, and if you think about each device contains 1.5 or 2 batteries per device because you need replacements on hand or extra spare batteries, that's an awful lot of batteries floating around your operation. Right now, there's no effective or efficient way to manage batteries across the enterprise. Think about it. How can you tell if a battery is healthy or unhealthy by merely looking at the battery? If your employees go to the charger and look, they'll see a green light indicating that the battery is fully charged and are likely to put that battery in their device. But there's no guarantee that the battery is able to hold a charge, just that it is fully charged. So that unhealthy battery looks just the same as the healthy battery. If there are thousands of batteries in your operation, how do your employees know which are healthy and which are not? The simple answer is they don't. So how do you manage batteries today? I want to ask another poll question here to the audience to see how do you currently replace unhealthy batteries across your organization today? Here you're able to choose as many answers as apply. And we'll give folks a second to read through the answers and select those that apply to their organization. Okay, let's flip through. Hopefully folks are still answering, but it looks like some of us don't know how batteries are replaced in the organization. Some other folks say we don't even manage batteries, which is a very common answer. There's really 3 main ways that we believe most of our customers and contacts say that they replace batteries. The first is a complete refresh. Every so often, maybe 2 years or every year, they'll buy a complete new inventory of batteries and replace all the batteries across the entire organization. As you might guess, this is not the most efficient or effective way in that it's very expensive and replaces good batteries along with the bad batteries. The second option is they continuously purchase new batteries, maybe 20 or 30 here and there, ship them out to different locations monthly or every so many months. And again, this is not a efficient or effective process. When people get the new batteries, there's no way to know which batteries currently in use to remove from operation. So on day 2, the new batteries look exactly the same as the old batteries, and the same problems persist. The third approach is using a device service contract to manage your batteries. As we talked about a little earlier, this isn't an effective or efficient process either. It requires shipping batteries off-site. It requires your employees recognizing when a battery is no longer healthy and taking action. It's very reactionary, and it's a time and costly endeavor to manage your batteries through a device service contract. Device service contracts are a great way to repair devices, but batteries are not a repair problem. We have found examples of employees trying to manage batteries on their own, and they've come to accept the problems that exist today. Some employees carry 3 spare batteries in their pockets just to make it through one shift. So as you can see, there really is no process today to effectively manage the problem of bad batteries or unhealthy batteries in the mobile enterprise. So I just tried to demonstrate the problem in terms of dollars, but if we ask those that use mobile devices each day, they feel the pain caused by unhealthy batteries as it limits their ability to do their job. Here are some quotes that we've heard in working with people that use mobile devices at a few of our customers. You'll notice that they send devices back for repair and are frustrated when some of these devices are returned as no trouble found. This costs time and money, and they're looking for a way to alleviate the challenge. Other folks continue to buy new batteries but can't tell which are good and which are bad, so I end up with just more batteries in my population to manage without alleviating the problem. Some other quotes. We had a woman at one of our customers tell us, I don't even know why we bother to buy portable printers. We have to keep them plugged into the wall most of the day anyway. So batteries are a real problem. They're a real hassle, and there's real costs associated with unhealthy batteries in your organization. So what can be done? Most companies have either come to accept the expense, but some forward-thinking retailers have already taken action. I'd like to introduce Michael Day, Vice President of Commercial and Industrial Services at our business partner RGIS, to tell you more about the Battery Test and Replace program and a recent project that we conducted for a top 5 retailer. Take it away, Michael.
Well, thank you, John. Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. We want to share with you a real-life story on how a national retailer proactively and efficiently managed their complete inventory of rechargeable batteries using a unique new service from Global Technologies Systems and RGIS. In this particular case, this retailer was experiencing a higher than normal number of mid-shift device failures. Their device maintenance requests through their call center were increasing, and their NTFs, no trouble found, maintenance costs were also increasing. This retailer prides itself in running efficient operations, and like most retailers, had many metrics in place to measure productivity and manage cost. However, it wasn't entirely clear to them what was the cause of these higher than normal mid-shift failures, the situation with the increase in the call center, and the NTFs. After an interview process with GTS, their battery supplier, it became pretty apparent that the most likely reason for these changes in metrics was unhealthy batteries. Each store in this retailer had approximately 60 mobile devices, and they had about 1.5 batteries per device, so they had 90 batteries per store. So what they wanted to do was strategically improve their battery health without a wholesale, complete refresh of their battery inventory. So what did they need to do? Well, in this case, Global Technology Systems developed a battery test and replace service. This is a service that goes on site and physically tests the batteries during an inventory process, eliminates the unhealthy batteries, and the end result is a complete refresh of your mobile battery inventory. However, in order to conduct this across the 1,500 store locations of the customer, GTS did not have that service capabilities, so we, RGIS, the inventory services leader, partnered with GTS to deliver this service. This service has a defined project plan that we go into a given store, perform an inventory of each of the mobile batteries, test the mobile batteries using a proprietary test device, determine if the battery has a pass because it meets certain criteria, or a fail and it requires a replacement. During this service, it took about 90 minutes per store to conduct this survey and replace process, and it was done over a 30-day period. If you look at this slide, what's interesting about it is we tested devices under 3 different categories. Their MC9000s, which was their handheld scanners, we tested 60,000 batteries. Their MC70s, which was their PDAs, we tested 30,000 of their batteries. And we tested 40,000 O'Neill mobile label printer batteries. What happened during this inventory was really interesting. During the testing process, we determined that the test criteria allowed 37% of the batteries to pass the state of health check. So that resulted in approximately 48,000 batteries remained in service because they were healthy. The interesting number here is the 63% failure rate, or approximately 82,000 batteries were failed during the testing process. And that was entirely because they did not have any proactive battery management process in their organization. So you would expect these type of metrics to come out from a service such as this. What were the results that really this customer received during this? Well, the retailer was now working with a full supply of healthy batteries across their entire enterprise. They within 1 month after this, their service calls decreased by 64%, and their NTF expenses decreased for these devices by 94%. The results were, obviously, the users using the devices' productivity went up, and their support service costs went down. The other very important aspect is the customer received full data visibility to what inventory of batteries were at each store at the end of this service. So the benefit was the RGIS inventory process provided the details for what exactly is at each store by type and what was replaced and what was not replaced. So now, on a proactive basis, they can move forward and manage their battery inventory with a much better process. The whole results of this project resulted in a $9 million of annual savings, and it created a 200% ROI in the project within 12 months. Test and Replace offers many benefits to organizations like yours. Many different companies have unlocked the power of Test and Replace, and you can too. Introduce Test and Replace to your organization, and you can take credit for an innovative approach to mobile power management and the associated savings that comes with it. When you look at some of these customer testimonials here, I can tell you that it's not uncommon for us to see these type of comments repeated at many of the types of events that we work with GTS on. To John's point earlier about the mobile printers, when we did that top 5 retailer, virtually every mobile printer we touched was plugged into the wall, and it really was not mobile because their batteries would not support the movement of the device. In summary, Battery Test and Replace Services is for leading mobile computer-type batteries, barcode scanners, portable printers, and two-way radios from most major manufacturers. We rely on a rapid testing equipment manufactured by GTS to test the state of health of each battery. It's performed by RGIS, which is an independent inventory services company. In other words, our customers receive assurance that you're only replacing batteries that meet the given criteria, and we have no interest in whether a battery is replaced or not. We're just executing the project plan. We replace bad batteries with new healthy batteries in a finite and concise time frame across your entire enterprise, and it does not disrupt your store operations or your operations, because usually we can get it done in a very short period of time. The benefits of all of Test and Replace are bad batteries are replaced and eliminated before they impact your bottom line. It ensures your team is always ready and has healthy batteries to get their job done each and every day. It increases productivity for sure. It reduces support costs after the replacement of the unhealthy batteries, and it definitely improves and provides a healthier bottom line to you. At a high level, Test and Replace is a great service that can help virtually any organization with their mobile battery management challenges. And with that, we can turn it over to some questions if we would like.
Great. It's a very compelling case study from a top 5 retailer. Mike, thank you very much. We've already gotten a question, and This one's probably for you, John. What types of batteries are you able to test as part of this service? We use several different mobile computers, including Motorola and Intermec devices, so can you test batteries for all these devices?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at GTS, we design and manufacture replacement batteries for the leading mobile devices made by a variety of manufacturers, such as you mentioned, two of them, Motorola and Intermec, I believe was the other one you just mentioned. We also manufacture batteries for Vocalect, for O'Neill printers and Zebra printers, and Honeywell scanning and mobility devices as well. So the nice thing is we can determine the health of any battery. There might be differences in the variables or the data that we can pull from the battery depending on the manufacturer and the type of battery that it is, but we can test any battery. And we're able to replace virtually all mobile computer, PDA, portable printer batteries with brand new healthy GTS product.
Great. Well, our questions are coming in fast and furious. Here's another question, again, probably for you, John. How do you perform the testing? How do you know if a battery is healthy?
Yeah, that's a great question. As we showed in the presentation, just looking at a battery, they look like lumps of coal. They look very similar. There's no real difference in visual appearance. You've actually got to get in and test the battery. So what we do, our testing is a proprietary battery testing tool where we place the battery on the tester and it measures a number of different parameters or factors. As I mentioned in my previous answer, depending on the battery type, we can pull certain information off of the battery, and the variables will depend on the battery itself, but essentially the variables include EPROM count or cycle count, the number of times that battery's been charged and discharged throughout its life. Gives a really strong indication of how healthy the battery is today. Date code, if the battery is more than, say, 2 or 3 years old, there's a pretty good correlation to the health of the battery. The internal resistance of the battery, meaning impedance or the ability to charge that battery to a full charge. We also look at physical condition, voltage, and some other factors in there. But it all is very quick. It's very easy. It's a rapid test. As soon as you put it on this very small battery tester, we'll get the data, and then the RGIS technician can compare the data from that individual battery versus the custom thresholds that we develop with the customer as we develop the testing plan and parameters. So very easy and seamless operation, and we can test a number of different batteries to determine if they're healthy or not.
John, I've got another technical question for you, and this is from another very large retailer. Do you test by using an MAH tester by Cadex or Alexander Technologies?
Yep. The short answer is neither. What we do is, and the question here is, are we looking solely at milliamp hours or a Cadex machine? Which a Cadex machine is very, very precise. It just takes a long time to actually test the battery using a Cadex machine. So our proprietary tester takes the data that we can get quickly from the battery to determine whether or not it's healthy or not based on those thresholds. So as I mentioned, we get a pretty good correlation, and our engineers down in Florida have studied batteries. We've done hundreds of thousands of battery tests over the last couple of years, and we've used that data to help determine if a battery is more than X number of cycles, it's likely below the threshold for a healthy battery. The nice thing about test and replace is those thresholds can be customized to your operation. If you're using the battery 24 hours a day and one device failure is going to totally throw off your entire operation, we can set higher thresholds. If you use that battery, for an hour or two each day, and a battery failure is not going to totally destroy your operations, we can work with you to set a lower threshold. So it's really customized to your operation, but it's based on years of experience in testing and the available data from the battery. But it's not as extensive or as thorough as a Cadex. But again, that's a pretty time and labor intensive way to measure the health.
Thanks, John. Michael, I think this one might be for you. When you say it doesn't take too long or disrupt your daily operations, how long does it typically take to test an entire store?
Thanks, John. Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the size of the store in relationship to the number of mobile devices. In the example that we went through with the top 5 retailer, they had approximately 90 batteries per store. Some had 130, some had 50, but on the average they had 90. And we were in and out of each store across all 1,500 in approximately 90 minutes. And that was from the beginning of the showing up on site to the actual leaving. So it took about 90 minutes to inventory all of the batteries, search the store to find out who has them in their pockets, test them, and replace the unhealthy with healthy batteries that were delivered to the store and leave the store. So 90 minutes is a good example for this example that we talked about. We've had other instances where executing a test and replace process, some sites might have 400 batteries and what have you. So it's all a function of the number of devices that are in scope for that particular customer. But suffice it to say, with our inventory focus of being accurate and efficient, most organizations are impressed with our ability to not disrupt the operations of the customer for an extended period of time.
Thanks, Michael. Just to follow up on the retailer that asked about the KDEX, they said they like the aspect of having a fast tester, and the KDEX is way too slow, 24 hours plus. But they asked a follow-up question, do you offer your testing unit for sale? Again, that's probably for you, John.
At this time, we do not offer the testing unit for sale. We rely on the RGIS team to be the labor force to actually go out and conduct the testing. The testers themselves are proprietary to GTS, and as the person responded to the question that they like having the fast tester, and KDEX does take 24 hours or more to test a battery. We're looking for a very quick and easy and painless process. We want to be in and out of your stores. As Michael talked about, we don't like to disrupt operations. We get in there, we test the battery, and with a certain degree of certainty, we get the bad batteries out. And so it's a service that we provide and we offer, and at this time we're not selling the testing unit for sale. But if someone had a real strong desire to learn more about the tester, I'd encourage them to contact us following the webinar, and I'm sure we can talk to you about how the tester works and what we can do for your operation.
Hey, John, can I add one more thing here?
Absolutely.
Something else around this very issue is some of our joint customers are asking us to do additional things when we're there, such as clean the chargers and even assess the chargers themselves, because I think everybody will agree that how chargers are deployed in their organization, some are in bad need of repair and replacement based on how they're treated in the field. So that can be added to the test and replace service as like an assessment process, so you can get visibility on that as well.
Thanks, Michael. This question might be for you. We've got a couple questions about, obviously this was an initial project because the retailer did not have a battery test and replace program in place. But the question is, will we need to do this again? If we update our battery inventory now, how do we keep up with it a year from now?
I can answer that pretty quickly. It's something that, even if we come into your store today or your location today, your distribution center, your warehouse, your facilities, and test batteries today, there's no guarantee that a week from that date there may not be a bad battery in there. Usually, rule of thumb, a rechargeable lithium-ion battery would probably last 24 to 30 months on average. So we would recommend that this process be be done maybe annually, to come into the stores and take a look at the inventory. Some of our customers have asked that we do it quarterly, which is something we can certainly do. But we can come in at any point in time and do it. This is a point in time test, and we would recommend repeating the process at a certain interval to continue to keep your operations running smoothly.
Yeah, that's a very good point, John. Your point about doing a percentage of stores in a quarter instead of the entire enterprise can be easily managed with this process. So you can put together a proactive process around a certain percentage of your stores at any one year, so that over a 2 or 3 year period you can visit them all again one time.
We have another question from a retailer. And Michael, I think this might be for you. Does RGIS revisit the store location with the new batteries and then replace each battery as needed? And if yes, what is the time frame for that process?
During most projects, what we do is during the test and replace service execution process, we are going to the site or store to execute, test, and replace, and we're replacing with a new battery that is delivered to the store before we get there. It's kind of sequestered. So we are replacing the batteries, the unhealthy batteries, with the brand new battery while this service is taking place. So it's not a revisit type of scenario to replace the battery. Does that answer the question?
Yep, I think it does. We've got another one. I think, Michael, you might have touched on this briefly in your presentation, but it says, once you test the batteries and identify all the bad ones, what happens to them? Do we have to throw them away?
That's a good question. Part of the process is we are ensuring that they're properly disposed of in an environmentally friendly manner. And so we have processes in test and replace that in some cases we're shipping it to a approved recycler that the customer approves of.
Here's another retailer question. Is the testing cost rolled into the battery pricing, or is there a per-visit site cost?
Yeah, I can take that. So absolutely, I think that's a really good question. Test and replace, we like to refer to it as a self-funded program, meaning that the money you can save by doing this project more than covers the project investment. However, there are, as you point out in the question, two primary variable costs that go into this program. The first being the cost of the replacement batteries, which you would obviously incur that cost over a period of time anyway. This might be front-loading it a bit, but you would still need to buy new batteries at some point. The second variable cost is there is a testing fee, a nominal testing fee per location, which pays for the RGIS technician to visit each store. And that testing fee is dependent on the project. There's not a standard fee, but it's dependent on the number of locations we visit, how close together those locations are, how remote. RGIS has 20,000 auditors across the country, and they're spread out pretty well. But if we've got to go to a remote area, there might be some added costs. And the average number of batteries per location, or the time that they're going to be in each of your locations testing batteries. So what we do in the upfront, in the scoping process, is understand how many locations you have, where they are, how many batteries are there, and based on that can come back with a per location fee. And it is variable, but I would say that it's a very fair and, in my opinion, a small amount to do the testing at each store. I think RGIS, because they are so good at logistics and do have people all across the country, we were able to do that top 5 retailer, 1,500 locations, in only 28 days. And that fee, 90 minutes per store, was a very small fee.
Again, I'm not sure who wants to field this one, John or Michael, but what assurances do I have that I don't remove good batteries just so I have to buy more replacements?
I can take this one, John. This is the beauty of the test and replace program. The project plan and the statement of work is jointly developed with GTS, RGIS, and you, the customer. So the criteria for passing a battery and failing a battery is mutually agreed upon up front. So when we put together the inventory process and the data collection process, we're just executing to the thresholds that a test of a battery says it passes or it fails. That's why an inventory service company is executing this. Our independence ensures that we're executing it to a set of pass-fail criteria, and only a bad battery is replaced if it fails the certain criteria. And we report that with our inventory metrics back to you, the customer, with which batteries passed and why a battery failed. It could have been a condition code, it could have been a date code, or it could have been a state of health test code from the GTS tester. So those are three examples of how batteries fail. But again, it's all driven by a mutual agreement between GTS, RGIS, and you, the customer. I think the other thing that really is important to know is in some cases it's better to start a project with a pilot to test the assumptions of a fail parameter for a battery. So what we did in that top 5 retailer is we did a 100-store pilot to kind of test what we thought the parameters should be. After that first 100-store data was analyzed, we then determined that certain things had to change in the testing criteria. We rolled it out for 500 more stores, and then eventually the whole enterprise of 1,500 stores. So the whole goal is to ensure that the batteries that are unhealthy are in fact replaced with a new battery, and the batteries that can stay in service and should stay in service do in fact stay in service with the test and replace process.
But Michael, the question is, if we want to get started in a smaller way to start before we go for the complete chain, can we do a portion of our locations first?
Absolutely. Again, that kind of goes to the heart of what we talked about with a pilot. In today's day and age, organizations want to make sure they're implementing benefits throughout their organization in a logical and cost-effective fashion, and we'll work with you to structure the service to accomplish your budget objectives and to replace what you can afford in your budget. Should be noted, though, that one of the things that John pointed out, and that is the top 5 retailer and other customers are seeing the benefit of lower support costs and IT support costs, which are pretty dramatic costs. So however you, the customer, want to buy the service is how we're interested in helping to deliver it.
And Michael, just to follow up on that, you mentioned this pilot idea and how we do a portion of the locations first to demonstrate the value, and we can stage it, and maybe we can do a couple locations this quarter and a couple locations next quarter. The other thing that we've had customers come to us with is, I have a set amount of budget set aside for batteries for this year. Can you help me do test and replace? And I think one of the things that's interesting about the program is we can help you with strategic replacement of batteries. So even if you have a set budget, we can start replacing or start doing stores until we hit that threshold, and then we can stop until we get to another point in the sales cycle for that customer. But we've had folks come to us and say, I only have X number of dollars. Can you replace only a portion of the batteries up to that amount? And we can do that as well. I think the real nice thing about test and replace is on-site, it's proactive, it's strategic, and it's thorough, whereas a lot of the other ways that we talked about throughout this call are more reactionary after the fact. They rely on your workers to notice a problem or to identify a problem, and quite frankly, they've got a lot of other things on their plate, and batteries don't tend to be the biggest priority. So here's an opportunity to make it a priority and handle it with a very efficient and effective process.
Yeah, and just to finish what you said, John, and more importantly, if you want to do a strategic replace for what you can afford on your budget, it's best to know which batteries you need to replace versus not replace. And just by looking at them, you can't tell.
I've got I couldn't have asked for a better summary question, but one or both of you can answer this. What are the top 3 benefits of test and replace to sell the program to senior management?
I would reiterate what we saw in our case study today, and that is the mobile power user is able to be productive for their entire shift. The IT support calls are decreasing probably at a factor of 60% or greater in most organizations. The NTFs are decreasing at a dramatic fashion, which are usually very high costs, and those are the 3 primary. And more importantly, this process really gives you great data visibility to how to then proactively manage your batteries versus how you're probably managing them today.
Yeah, I think the way the question was posed, and I didn't see who wrote the question yet, but it's a great question. How do I get buy-in in my organization for this program? I think it's easy to think of it as, well, I'm going to have to spend a great deal of money buying new batteries, and when you position it that way, it becomes a cost and it becomes a hardship. And as we mentioned earlier in this, batteries aren't sexy, it's not the biggest priority in your company, and it's hard to sell in that idea. But I think what makes this program so innovative and beneficial to a lot of organizations is that it's seamless, it's self-funded, and it's customizable. So we're not going to disrupt your current operations. We're in and out of most locations in an hour and a half. Employees are very receptive and excited to have us there because they feel the pain of batteries. I talked about the woman that said, why do we even have portable printers? I had another guy say, oh, this is like Christmas morning. It's about time they get me a new battery. I'm carrying 3 batteries in my pocket just to get through my shift. So you hear stories like that, and I think that's a great way to help sell this in, is to say, hey, we in senior management may not feel the pain or see the pain, but the folks out there that are doing the jobs using these mobile devices, they feel the pain. And then the second one, self-funded, it's we can start demonstrating the cost savings at a very early point in the process to say to the senior management, hey, look, you're spending X number of dollars on maintaining and repairing these mobile devices when a lot of times the problem is just a battery. So do I want to have a $100 NTF to repair a device or not repair a device because it was a result of the battery, or do I want to invest in the $30 or $40 battery to make sure that device is running smoothly? And then I think the third is it's customizable. It's a great service. Can be tailored to meet your specific needs at your operation. Michael talked about a lot of the added services. We're cleaning chargers, we're inventorying devices, we're looking at SIM cards and taking inventory of those. So the RGIS team brings a lot of skill to the program that can extend the services beyond the battery testing, and customizable as well in terms of how we define an unhealthy battery. So for your operation, it might be this threshold. For someone else's, it might be another threshold. But we can set the testers and train the RGIS team to customize those parameters so that it's unique to your operation. So I would say those are the three biggest benefits. I know that was a long way of getting to them, but of this program.
Thank you, guys. Well, a couple more questions have come in, and this question I think is from a retailer, and it says, obviously you've talked about a big challenge, but how is this process being handled now by most retailers?
Yeah, I can handle that one. In the second poll question that we asked you, we really see three ways. The first being, you know what, I'm only going to worry about my batteries every 2, 3, 4 years, and I'm just going to clean sweep, just take everything out and bring in new ones. And that's very expensive. If you're going to replace 100% of your batteries at once, it's also not something you can kind of plan for, because if you start having a lot of failures prior to that strategic refresh, you're going to incur a lot of costs, and you're going to throw out perfectly good batteries with bad batteries. So that's the one approach, and as we mentioned, it's not very efficient or effective. The second approach is a lot of companies will, each month budget for a small amount of batteries and ship them out to various locations. Again, when those batteries arrive, the person receiving that box doesn't have a process or a way to take out the bad batteries. So, hey, I just got new batteries. Well, what do I do with the old ones? They oftentimes leave them there, and on the next day, they don't know which battery is the new battery and which battery is the battery that's been there for 3 years. The third way is they oftentimes try and treat batteries as a repair issue and put them through the device service loop. They send them off-site to a repair depot. That's difficult for me to say. A repair depot which will analyze the device, and if they determine it's the battery, they'll probably swap the battery. But that is a reactionary. It's one-off. I mean, it relies on your employee to recognize a device, send the device, and get it back. So I'd say those are the three primary ways that people attempt to manage batteries across the organization today. But as we've shown here today, those aren't the most efficient or effective ways to combat the problem.
All right, we've got time for one more question, and I think, Michael, this probably is for you. What is the time lag between agreeing to the test parameters and when you start?
In most cases, it's a very short timeline. Think of it as 15 days or less would be my guess. But again, it all depends on scheduling and how quickly you, the customer, would like to get started. So we can usually react to short turnaround requests, but as with all big projects, the better planning ensures a smoother implementation. So we'll work with you to make it a very short timeline so you can start receiving the benefits as quickly as possible.
Well, I'd like to thank both of our speakers for their time today and for their excellent presentations, where you can feel free to contact them by phone using the information on the screen in front of you. From all of us at RGIS and GTS, thank you for attending today's webinar, and have a great rest of your day.